What's up, guys? Rick here with your DFS preview for this week's BMW Championship. And we are looking to keep the momentum rolling because last week might have been the biggest week for the community since I remember doing this. I mean, I was inundated with screenshots and messages. Everybody essentially had Dustin Johnson, so there was outright tickets all over the place. There were DraftKings and FanDuel, even Yahoo screenshots coming from all over the place. So I'm not going to go through each one. There is one that I do want to call out because I think it's really important and I think it'll help everybody. So Joe Weaver sent a message and he turned his $220 into a hair over $11,000. And the reason I want to point this one out specifically is because he sent me a message of a screenshot where he won the $12 single entry, the Albatross on DraftKings. So he turned that $12 into $10,000. And what he mentioned was that he just watched the video that I made last week on mistakes that people make in DFS, which I will link right here as well so that you can watch it. And one of the topics that I go through is contest selection. And he mentioned the lineup that won the single entry Albatross would have finished and won only, quote, only $250 in the $3.20 max. So a big difference there because of what contest he's choosing, the payout structure, all that good stuff. So I will link that video so that you can watch it, but I thought it was an opportunity to not only shout out Joe, but also use it as an educational tidbit for everyone else. So congratulations, everyone. It was hot fire last week. We will look to continue it this week as well. I do also have winners of the draw for a monthly subscription to RickRunGood.com, which, oh, by the way, I'm going to be showing something brand new this week in the Strokes Game database. Might want to stay tuned for that. Very excited about it. The winners from last week, Hey Brother 1984, you've won a month subscription to RickRunGood.com, as well as Joe Raimondi. So I will reach out to you guys, get you all set up. If you would like to win a monthly subscription to the tools that you are going to see in this video, a lot of the success from the community coming from these tools, the Slack channel, everything else going on at RickRunGood.com, there are two ways to enter. If you are on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed to the Rick Run Good YouTube channel, like this video, and tell me who's going to win the BMW Championship. That's simple. If you are on iTunes, go leave a 5-star rating and review, say something nice about the show, and leave me your Twitter handle so that I can get in touch with you. I will link the description. I will link to the podcast. It is called 300 Yards to Unknown. A lot of good content coming out there as well. We had Doc Redman on the show last week, so things are moving in the right direction. I hope you guys are enjoying. I guess that's it. Let's jump into BMW Championship, down to the top 70 in the FedEx Cup standings. All right, let's start with the course and what we do and do not know about it. So I'll have to update the course key stats page, but unfortunately, this is going to be the first time that we've seen Olympia Fields in a long time, where we have the amount of data that we normally do. Has not been used on the PGA Tour since 2003 for the US Open. Jim Furyk won that year. Also, if you remember back to, the 1925 PGA Championship, Walter Hagen won that. I don't think we had shot link data back then, though, so that won't be very helpful. But what we do know, it's outside of Chicago. It'll play as a par 70. It'll be about 72-ish, 100 yards, waiting for the official scorecard to come out from the tour. But this is a familiar course for amateurs. So our very own EPAT, Eric Patterson, had a great tweet from last night with some notable results from the Illini Invitational. I believe that is an amateur event. So in 2018, Matthew Wolfe won it. Colin Morikawa finished second, and Victor Hovland finished sixth. In 2017, both Wolfe and Morikawa finished in a tie for 13th. In 2016, Cam Champ won that event. And in 2015, Cam Champ won it. John Rahm finished in the top 10. Scotty Scheffler and Cam Champ. I'm sorry. Let me start that again. 2015, Maverick McNeely won it. That is correct. John Rahm finished in the top 10, and then Champ and Scheffler finished in a tie for 22nd. So take that for what it's worth. Will it play the same as a PGA Tour event as it did as an amateur event? Of course not. Is it helpful that some of these guys have seen this course before? Sure. I actually do think that a bit of leveling the playing field this week, because really, for the most part, nobody has seen it. And remember, we're down to 70 in the FedEx Cup standings with the top 30 moving on. That also means that it's a no-cut event, so you're going to get 4 guaranteed rounds for this week, barring a DQ, barring a withdrawal, anything like that. And these guys are going to get to play 4 rounds. And there's going to be that added wrinkle, right? The guys outside the top 30 might need to put their foot on the pedal a little bit if they want to try to make it to Eastlake next week for the Tour Championship. So keep all of that in mind. Since there are a ton of variables for this week, this might be a really good time for me to show off a new feature on the strokes gained database. And I didn't know what to name it, so I threw it up in the Slack chat. I said, what would you even name this portion of the tool? Somebody replied with calling it the Holy Grail. I loved it, so I've called it the Holy Grail, and let me show you what it does. Here's the standard strokes gained database. You'll now see there is a button for the Holy Grail. If you take that, essentially what this is I'm giving you access to my entire strokes gained database, and you can slice it and dice it any way that you want. I have a ton of different ways that you can do so. So looking forward to this week. What do we know about Olympia Fields? Well, we know it's a par 70. Let's start there. What I'm going to be able to do is filter all of the players on tour for their strokes gained averages based on my conditions here. So let's go with par 70, and you got to give it a second. Sometimes depending on what you're asking it to do, it'll take a bit. But let's go to par 70s, and let's just go in the last 2 years and see who plays well on par 70s in the last 2 years. So let's do 2018 on. All right. So, and then I have your salaries in here. So you can see on par 70s alone, Rory Mcilroy averages 1.86 strokes gains per round. It's more than anybody else on tour in that period, or I guess I should say in this field in that period. Webb Simpson in second, Tiger Woods in third, Dustin Johnson. And here's a really unique one. Here might be one that's very interesting to you. Kevin Na. Kevin Na is averaging more strokes gained on par 70s in the last 2 years than Justin Thomas, than Xander Schauffele, than Colin Morikawa. Obviously, he's a lot younger, but it's interesting to see this. And I have the number of rounds here, right? I mean, Kevin Na's played 46 rounds on par 70s. It's more than Rory McIlroy's played on par 70s. It's a really interesting way to kind of slice and dice up the data. Or maybe we want to clear this out and we want to just look at BMW Championship history. Now, keep in mind, it's been played at different courses, but you can make some arguments that it's always the top 70 in the field. It is a no-cut event. We can make a case that you have to be peaking at the right time. So if you look at just BMW Championship history, Jon Rahm leads the field in average strokes gained per round. Oh, and then by the way, Daniel Berger is second. Does this guy ever not show up on the top of a list somewhere? I mean, it's unbelievable what he's doing right now. So you can do this. The way that I want to look at this right now is I want to look at since the restart. So I'm going to clear this out and I'm going to look at I think June 8th was the date that we came back. So I'm just going to do it from June 1st, 2020. Let this thing filter itself out. And I'm going to see that Daniel Berger is the only golfer who has averaged at least 2 strokes gained per round in the restart. He has 22 rounds played. He's averaging 2.38. That is more than he was last week. He improved on his total from last week where he was already the best player in the field in the restart. It's unbelievable stuff. And now with Bryson DeChambeau missing the cut last week, Daniel Berger is the only guy averaging over 2 strokes per round. It's incredible. Harris English makes a big jump, 1.87. He is now third. Justin Thomas is fourth. Webb Simpson is fifth. Xander Schauffele is sixth. A couple of value guys here. Russell Henley in the restart. So he's $7,800 this week. He is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's like ninth in the restart. Kevin Kisner is 10th. Matthew Fitzpatrick is 11th. I mean, there are some value names here, especially when you're going to be able to get 4 guaranteed rounds. I mean, you can go through, I've had a ton of fun with this all, last couple weeks I've been testing this out. You can do architect, you can do greens, you can do what rounds you want, you can do the tee time waves, you can go have at it. I think on a week-by-week basis, using it for greens and the architect and the type of course is all very interesting. I like using the recent form, and this just makes it super easy for me to be able to do, and I hope it is easy for you to do as well. So that's the Holy Grail. I love it so far. More information coming. Let's jump over to the cheat sheet. 6 golfers over $10,000 led by Justin Thomas. Nope, that's not right. Led by Dustin Johnson, $11,500. Is he worth the price? Well, you could make the argument he should probably be closer to $12,000 considering he won in runaway fashion at the Northern Trust. He finished second at the PGA Championship. He won again in the restart. I think we are miles away from those 80, 78 rounds, and I just think that Dustin Johnson, if you're trying to win a GPP, is certainly one of the most valuable golfers on the face of the earth because of that high ceiling. Yes, he has one of the lowest floors. We actually talked about that last week when we were going through the betting preview because the outright number was insane. He was 20-1. We all got on it. We all cashed those tickets. So it's still the same this week, right? He could be the guy who goes out and shoots 30 under. He could be the guy, I guess he wouldn't miss the cut, who finishes 65th, right? We've seen that. I am much more optimistic about Dustin Johnson, obviously, than I've been in a long time. I just think you have to get the format right. Get into a format where, you want that high upside. Interested to see what his ownership comes in at. So we'll check over the next couple of days. I'll update the projected ownership on RickRunGood.com, and we'll see where he comes in. He's not necessarily the type of guy I want to get involved with when he's 25% owned, but I don't think we're going to get there. I think there's so many other great options that it'll kind of spread itself out. My favorite option is probably Justin Thomas. I had that little slip there at the top because I was already thinking about JT at 10,800. Did he play well last week at the Northern Trust? I guess it depends on what you would describe as well. Let's go over to his strokes gained database here, and we'll go back to the tournament, and we will look up JT. And I want to start with just last week. So last week, he gains 4.5 strokes from tee to green. He loses 4 strokes putting. So let's look at this here. If I get rid of just the Northern Trust, because what I want to do is I want to find, and I tweeted this out last night. So if you saw this, you know where I'm going with it. You usually cannot hold down Justin Thomas's putter for very long. Now, he notoriously wins the WGC a couple of weeks ago by losing strokes putting. He did not putt well at the PGA Championship, and he did not putt well at the Northern Trust. But if you use that 4 strokes loss number, the last 5 times that he has lost at least 4 strokes putting, the next event, he finished second at the Workday Charity Open. He finished third at the Waste Management. He finished 12th at the WGC FedEx St. Jude. He finished second at the Tour Championship, and he won the PGA Championship. So that might be a little bit of cherry picking. It might be, but I guess my point is usually, for the most part, when he has a bad putting week, outside of the last 2 weeks, quite frankly, he usually follows it up with a good week. And the rest of his game is so good. From tee to green, he's so good. His ball striking is great. If that's the only thing that's going to keep him down, I don't think you keep it down for very long. So he is a guy that I am already early in the week fairly focused on. Now, we'll see how this evolves over the course of the week. We get more information about the course, all that good stuff. But laser focused on JT at the moment. Bryson DeChambeau, he's 10,600. He's coming off a really, really ugly missed cut. Do I think he's going to be able to bounce back? I do. I'm more optimistic about it. I mean, his approach game, it was bad. His putting was bad. The off the tee stuff was not as good as we've seen. I mean, everything was off. If I trust anyone to spend, the 2 extra days that he got by missing the cut last week and then the time in between each event to figure things out, I trust Bryson to be able to do that. Again, not usually a guy that has two bad events in a row, especially in this version of Bryson. I think it's an interesting opportunity to see what his ownership is and maybe buy him. Rory McIlroy. If you've been following this channel, the pod, all that stuff, I have been very down on Rory McIlroy, and I believe it is warranted. The issue with Rory, and I've been saying this week over week, is that he has turned into essentially an average tour player with his irons since the restart. That's it. Now, and that's a concern. It's a big concern. But what I saw last week at the Northern Trust, let's throw Rory in here, gives me a little reason to be optimistic, okay? So Rory McIlroy gains 5 strokes on approach at the Northern Trust. It is the best tournament that he has had in the restart in that category. Well, remember, that's the category that was the bugaboo. Now, unfortunately, off the tee stuff was bad. His putting was horrendous. He lost 6.5 strokes putting, which if you look in my database, which goes back the last 5 years, second worst event he's ever had putting. So do I think that the putter will bounce back? Of course I do. If he can keep the irons the way that he played this week, that's a really good sign. Maybe he fixes the driver a little bit, right? I mean, look, the guy lost almost a stroke off the tee. Is that going to happen again? Probably not. I mean, in the last 5 years, he's only lost strokes off the tee 4, 5, 6, like 9 times. Like, it just doesn't happen. He's one of the best players in the world. So when we talk about bounce back opportunities, there are good bounce back opportunities. There are bad bounce back opportunities. It feels like Rory could be a good bounce back opportunity this week. And I've now gone, 7 weeks not feeling that way. I feel differently this week. I'm very interested to see how he actually performs at the BMW Championship. $9,000 range. Oh, by the way, Webb Simpson, Webb Simpson's 10,100 and he's unbelievable. Like, I know he was never really in contention at the Northern Trust, but like the guy ends up finishing 6th at a course that like didn't even really fit him all that well. I mean, there's very natural spots to play Webb. I feel like now even in like the unnatural spots he's playing well, it's unreal what he's able to do. He is correctly priced at $10,100. He will probably get no love this week, but quite frankly, he should. I mean, now 4 top 15 finishes in his last 6 starts. Like, he didn't play well at the Memorial, which we kind of thought might happen. Like, it's just, man, he's so good right now. But I could live in the $9,000 range. Xander, who I still feel like is close. Daniel Berger, who I've just been trying to bang the drum on him. He's been the best player in the restart. That's it. There's no question about it. He's been the best player. He's piling up top 10s, top 15s all over the place. I mean, it's remarkable stuff. Morikawa's here, Day is here. I mean, Scotty Scheffler, I mentioned as EPAT tweeted out, he's got a little bit of experience around Olympia Fields. I mean, I could live in this $9,000 range and feel fine about it. Let's talk about Tiger Woods. He's $8,600. Tiger has a lot to do this week. Tiger has to finish in the top 6 to punch his ticket to East Lake. Is that going to happen? I don't know. However, what we saw from him in his final round at the Northern Trust, and I'm going to pull this up here for you really quickly. It was the best round we've seen from Tiger in the restart, in both statistically and to the eye test. Okay, so statistically, he gained 3.3 strokes total, which is literally his best round of 2020. The way he did it, gaining strokes off the tee, I believe, yes, this was his best round in the restart. Gaining strokes on approach, it was his second best round of 2020. Losing strokes putting, but not a lot. That's fine, because if he gets the hot putt, like that's the profile of guys that we want, right? So he passes that test, and then he passes the eye test where, I'll tell you what, man, he looked like he had the look. I know it was Sunday morning and nobody was out there and all that stuff, but he kind of had the look. He went out and birdied his first, 4 holes. A little bit disappointing for him to par in his final 9, but the back 9 is more difficult. He was out of it. It was Sunday. I mean, I can make a lot of excuses for him, but if Tiger plays like he played Sunday at the Northern Trust for 2, 3, maybe even 4 rounds at the BMW Championship, we're going to be talking about him being in contention of this golf tournament. So it's interesting. I know it was an 8:55 a.m. tee time on Sunday that didn't mean anything, but he's had a lot of tee times in the restart that haven't meant anything, and this is the best one we've seen. Can he carry it over? Does he even want to get to East Lake? Like the best outcome for Tiger might be finish 7th at the BMW, feel like you played great, not have to play back-to-back-to-back weeks and be ready for Winged Foot. Like that might be the best outcome for him. And if you're talking about from a fantasy perspective, he's $8,600. If he finishes 7th, that would be a big win. So I'm definitely, I think last week Rory was on the fade video. Tiger was on the fade video. I am more those guys will not be on the fade video this week. I'm much more optimistic after, it's a small scale about those guys this week than I certainly was last week. Let's look at Matthew Wolfe. Matthew Wolfe is $8,200, and I believe he's going to be one of the most popular golfers on the slate, and I believe that that's correct. So last week he was fairly popular. He shot a 77 on Saturday. What was the field average? Like 69? So he's 8 shots worse than the field average. Oh yeah, 7.6 worse than the field average. Like, I don't know what happened. It was really bad. Nothing went right for him. I was very impressed to see that he bounced back with a 67 on Sunday, played much better. So if you get rid of that round of 77, he went 65, 67, 67. That would have been 4, 8, 6, 14 under in 3 rounds. Like when 14 under finished T11, that means if he goes 14 under in 3 rounds and then shoots essentially the field average on Saturday, he would have been 16 under and a tie for 6. Like, I know that's like, if he would have went 20 under, he would have won the golf tournament, right? Like, I know it's silly to do it that way, but I'm trying to put this into perspective for you, how good he was for 3 out of 4 rounds. He has the history at Olympia Fields, his game maturing right in front of our eyes. He's going to be incredibly popular. I believe it is warranted. I will just differentiate in other spots where I have Wolfe in my lineup. I will differentiate other guys, other situations. Who else is here? Bottom of the 8s. Oh, I'll tell you what, Alex Noren, I don't know if this is low key or not, but has been really good. 4 straight top 25s. 3 of them are top 10s. And one of them, which one was it? I guess he got to the PGA Championship like late. So I don't even know if he was on the slate for DraftKings by the time that thing teed off. Finished 22nd there. He is just low-key popping up everywhere. He's $7,900. If you're comparing him against like a Matthew Fitzpatrick who's missed his last 2 cuts, a Gary Woodland who missed the cut at the Northern Trust and has dwindled around in the 50s for 2 starts previous to that, like, I think I like Alex Noren better than both of those guys, quite frankly. Russell Henley's here, back-to-back top 10s. I showed you Russell Henley's numbers earlier. He's a great ball striker. He's playing well in the restart here. I bet he's probably one of the best iron players in the restart. Let me run this. All right, so we'll go over to the Holy Grail here, and we will do since the restart. So I do 6-1 because that's easy for me to remember. And then let's sort by approach. Yeah. Okay, look at this. Russell Henley, 1.2 strokes gained on approach in the restart. It is the second most of anybody on tour. Wes Bryan is first, but it is the most of anyone in this field. Speaking of which, if we just do in this field here, Henley is first, Thomas is second, Tiger Woods is third, Joaquin Niemann is fourth, Victor Hovland is fifth. Let's do tee to green in the restart. JT is first, Henley is second, Berger is third, Rahm fourth, DJ fifth, Hovland sixth. Interesting. Scotty Scheffler's up there. Harris English up there, of course. Interesting. Okay, cool. Ryan Palmer. Oh, low key. Okay. We'll get to Ryan Palmer at 7,600. I guess we could do it right now. This guy's having a much better season than anyone wants to even acknowledge. So we just showed up there on the tee to green numbers in the restart. He finished second at the Memorial, 15th at the WGC. He made the cut at the PGA Championship. He finished 8th again at the Northern Trust. he has had a weird season, right? He was in contention until his approach shot into the 72nd hole at the Sony Open. He was in the final group at Torrey Pines. He melted down, but like he has been in contention way more often than a lot of people would like you to believe. He is $7,600. Like, what does his playoff history look like? I'm going to try to do, let's do all dates. Let's just do playoff events here. So I want to sort by tournaments that are, so I want the BMW Championship, and if you hold control, you can select multiple. So we need the Deutsche Bank, we need the Dell Technologies, we need, what else do we need? Tour Championship, okay, the Barclays, the Northern Trust. I'll have to consolidate these. The Tour Championship, is that all of them? Did I get them all? I think I got all of them. Let's just say those events. Those events in the last 5 years. Oh, of course. Dustin Johnson, number 1 in strokes gained total. 1.38. Right behind him, John Rahm, Justin Thomas, Paul Casey. I actually like Paul Casey, but he tweeted out he was running on fumes from the last like 6 weeks in a row now. But he's up there. Jason Day, Rory. I mean, I guess these are a lot of big names. The first one that pops off that's not a big name is Sebastian Munoz. He's $6,300. He only has 8 rounds compared to some of these other guys that have like 80 rounds. Like Dustin Johnson has 80 rounds in the last 5 years in playoff events. Kokrak, surprisingly, is up here. So Kokrak's 7,500. He's played 52 rounds in the playoffs. He's like 15th on this list. That could be interesting. Again, there are some parallels we can take from playoff events where it's the pressure, it is the situation with the FedEx Cup standings, all that good stuff. Obviously, different courses rotating all around, but you can glean some things from it. Speaking of Jason Kokrak, he is here last 3 years of the BMW Championship. Again, different course. 3 top 20s, 19th, 19th, 17th. That would be pretty valuable at $7,500, especially because that guy's got work to do. I think he got in basically on the number, like 68th, 69th, something like that. So he's going to have to go out and shoot. He's going to have to top 5 this event maybe to move on to East Lake. So he's got some work to do. Mackenzie Hughes, an even 7,000. I think Mackenzie Hughes is a great bomb, right? Like let's do his player profile here. If you are looking for consistency, you should just fast forward through this part because that's not going to be what Mackenzie Hughes provides. He is a guy who missed, 7 straight cuts from the Sony Open to Pebble Beach. Not good. Now the restart and just before the shutdown were a lot better. He finished 2nd at the Honda, might have found something there because then he finished 3rd at the Travelers. That was in the restart. He finished 6th at the Memorial. He finished 13th at the Northern Trust. So he's going to burn you a lot. He's not going to miss a cut this week, but he can finish 58th or 8th, and that is pretty valuable in a high upside setting for only $7,000. Taylor Gooch, similarly, he's been a bit more consistent, doesn't have the upside of Mackenzie Hughes, but 4 top 25 finishes in his last 6 starts. The other 2 are missed cuts. So, decide what you want here. Gooch, very interesting plug-and-play option at $6,600. And honestly, this week, there's some poor names down here, but, this is the best of the $6,000 range that you could get. So I personally feel I have not built any lineups yet. I feel like Stars and Scrubs is a great approach in the playoffs. Try to jam 2 of those guys up top in, try to get 2 of the guys down here who might be playing well. I mean, Sebastian Munoz has been my path to victory for 2 straight weeks at the 500K. I've had live lineups all week long there. He burned me at the Wyndham. He played much better at the Northern Trust. The rest of my lineup didn't go my way. Emiliano Grillo burned me last week, but he's playing well. It's hard for him to put it together for 4 rounds. He can't do it for 4 rounds, but 2 rounds at a time might be a showdown play, quite frankly. He can do it. Harry Higgs is interesting. And I don't know if let's look up Harry Higgs' profile, because if you remember, and I pointed this out a couple of weeks ago, Harry Higgs was by far, he was like the worst player of the restart for the first 8 weeks. It was really, really bad. Now, he just made the, oh, see, I'm not going to buy back in on this. All right. So he goes, the Northern Trust, he finishes 11th. After missing 4 straight cuts from Wyndham to the Workday, he finished 70th at the Rocket Mortgage, missed the cut at the Traveler. Like, it's been a bad restart for Harry Higgs. My problem is he was basically field average in every category except the putting. He gained almost 6 strokes putting, second best event of his career. I will not be buying back in on Harry Higgs, so maybe he shows up as a fade this week. I don't know how many people were expecting to play him. He's only 6,100, so he is cheap. But if I was looking for a cheap option, I would probably go other places, even like let's look up Mav McNeely real quick because he was absolutely brutal on the greens last week, I believe. Oh, no, sorry. I switched it. He was brutal everywhere but the greens. Gained 9.6 strokes putting. Yeah, that's not going to happen again. So, man, really ugly, very bottom here. But like Munoz at 63 is interesting. Tyler Duncan, Robbie Shelton, I could kind of get behind that. Streelman at 64. Those are viable guys. I don't think you need to go down to the min price, but you could go pretty low and not feel terrible about it, especially in the no cut setting. Let's do a quick model real quick. And quite frankly, we don't have any history for Olympia Fields, so I'm going to kind of speculate a little bit here. All right, so as always, I'm a tee to green guy, so give me 40 weights in tee to green. Par 4s, yeah, it's a par 70, so let's do 25 there. In a no-cut event, I want guys that are going to be making a ton of birdies or at least have the opportunity to do so. You throw an eagle or 2 in there, really jumps up your scoring. So give me 25 in birdie or better, and that leaves me with 10. Where will I go with my final 10? I don't want to double count some of the strokes gained numbers. Let's just do driving distance. I feel like that could work. And let's run this model for the BMW Championship. And my number 1 ranked golfer, Bryson DeChambeau. Justin Thomas is 2nd. Rory Mcilroy is 3rd. Rahm is 4th. Xander is 5th. Actually, DJ doesn't even show up here until 6th. That's kind of surprising. Any value here? I mean, Hatton at 8,300. He's inside my top probably 12. Although this mostly aligns with the top players here. I mean, I guess the value starts at maybe Harris English or Adam Scott. Cam Champ at 7,500. He's in my top like 18 or so. So there's some guys here. Ryan Palmer does show up too. I mean, this might be a week where it's more about roster construction with the no cut aspect of it, with the good guys down at the min price or the low, sub 7,000. I shouldn't say the min. So this might be a roster construction week, but that's my model. You can go in here, tinker around and see what you want, see who you like. But that'll do it for this week's BMW Championship. 2 events left in this season, and we are not stopping. We are rolling right into next year. Lots of great stuff coming. If you have any questions, any comments, any suggestions, tweet me at RickRunGood. Leave a comment below. Best of luck this week. I'll talk to you guys soon.